Hey, it's Rebecca at Design and Adorn. I want to show you a new bracelet design that we're going to be debuting this week. Check this out. I think it's very cool. I don't have a name for it yet, but it's kumihimo bracelet. It's made with mini petals. And what I think is the most fun about it is when you flip it over, there are not petals on the back, right? There are petals on the sides, petals on the top, but not in the center of the back. So what does that mean for you? Why do you care? It's because it then sits really nicely on your wrist. So that's pretty cool here. So what level project is this? Where should you be in your kumihimo journey before you do this? It's pretty straightforward, but there are a couple factors that would, I think, suggest that this is not the first kumihimo project you've ever done. We're going to be working with size 11 seed beads, so it's these guys here, as well as the mini petals. And mini petals, I think they're really cool. I think petals in general are cool. They are asymmetrical, so there's a front and a back to these guys. Let me get some of the bigger petals so you can see these better. So these are big petals. And you can see that there's sort of like a concave and a convex side here. And on the convex side, you can see there are like 3 little ridges. So when you string these, you do need to flip them all so that they're facing the same direction. I like to turn mine on my beading tray so they're all face up, and then I stab down through the hole, but you could have them all flipped the other way. It doesn't matter, just as long as they're all facing the same direction when you string them. So whenever we have asymmetrical beads, I usually say that's not really great for your first time. And then we have the size 11s. And because we're working with size 11s and these petals, everything's gonna go on Superlon Micro. You can see here at the little nubbin end of my bracelet, I haven't put my end caps on yet. So we have Superlon Micro and then this piece of rat tail here. So this is the core. So you're gonna be braiding around this piece of rat tail, and that's going to stabilize your braid. Now, pro tip, while you're braiding this, it may look sort of like twisty like this while you're braiding. Do not panic. You'll need to give it a counter twist when you get it off the disc, and then it will be beautiful like this. Now, one thing I wanted to share with you about this project is where do these things come from? They don't just come from outer space. So I want to talk a little bit about the evolution of this design. So starting with these petal beads, I was like, hey, these petal beads are cool. What can we do with these? And oops, don't throw the petal beads. The first iteration was the mermaid's tail. The mermaid's tail uses the large petals and the size 11s. And here we have Superlon Micro in the center and no core. And that gives us this really delightfully slinky centerpiece. Ooh, you can like hear the beads as I drape. This, I love this. This is just really fantastic to touch. And then for the back, we have a beaded rope with size 8 seed beads. But because we have size 8 seed beads in the back, which need to go on Superlon 18, and then we have the petals and the 11s in the front that are on micro, how do we have half of our braid with micro and half of our braid with size 18 Superlon? Easy peasy. We make 2 separate braids. So that's what's happening here. And then these are attached with magnets. So this is the mermaid's tail, and this was the first design I did with the petal beads. And I was looking for something that's like gonna show off their cool shape, how they, you can see how they sort of like nest next to each other when you string them all facing the same direction. But then, like, okay, what can we change? Because that's sort of like the process of invention is like taking an idea and then making a small change and seeing what you get. So from there, we do the grandiose. So I was thinking, all right, I like these petals. These are very cool. But what if for my centerpiece, what if the petals were only on the front and the sides and not on the back. All right, so that's here. So this is the grandiose. And how did that even come from? Well, that came from an earlier design concept. This is the funky caterpillar, which is Rizzo's. It's a bracelet, Rizzo's on the front, seed beads on the back with no Rizzo's here. And this is my first one of this concept. And you do this with a counted pattern where you string up your two types of beads, in this case, Rizzo's and seed beads in a specific order, and then you end up with only seed beads on the back. So I'm like, okay, I can use that as a starting point for the grandiose. And that's what we have going on here. And then of course in the grandiose, because this was a necklace, in the count, we have a section in the center where we omit some of the petals to give us just a little bit more room for this to bend and to get a tighter curve. So that's the grandiose, which is the second iteration of the petal design. I'm like, okay, I like these. I like where these are going. Could I do this as a bracelet? Right, like this drapes well enough to be a bracelet, but that is a humongous bracelet. I mean, you could, but personally that would be too big for me to wear. So enter mini petals. Like, do these petals come smaller? Hey, they do come smaller. So this is what it looks like when you take the grandiose and then we shrink it into smaller petals. But then we don't need that section where we've cut out petals because it's going to be a bracelet rather than a necklace. So we get this. Working title, mini grandiose. I'll have to come up with something other than that. I think I'm gonna finish this off with some peyote stitch end caps because I really want the petals to go like almost all the way around my wrist here. Let me try to it's hard to line this up here because I don't have the clasp on here yet. Of course I could do something with, just glue on end caps and use like a magnet or a toggle or something, but that ends up really growing, right? Like that would be almost the entire back of my wrist would just be hardware. So by doing just a stainless steel magnet and then doing peyote stitch over it, I'll be able to have it where basically the entire bracelet is this cool petal design. So what do you think? That's the new project. We're gonna have kits later this week. I still have to pull the colors and of course finish gluing the end caps on this guy. So stay tuned for more details.